Mark, obviously we're here to talk about the 2000 ABA Championship, and obviously you won the Southern Conference that year as well too. What can you remember from the year 2000?
Not a lot. No, it was great times for us. It was our Chargers were formed, I guess, in 1997 after the demise of the Devils, and that first year, 1997, we had a couple of Devils players stay back and play with us because we thought we were going back to the NBL. But when that fell over, then we sort of set ourselves for the SEABL at that time with the Chargers, and we were very successful in those first 5 years really of our existence. But 2000 was very special because we knocked Kilsyth off in the South Conference final, and in those days there was no national championship as per se as we have now. It was the ABA National Championship where teams from all states come to play at Bendigo as it was in 2000. So us and Kilsyth went through, and Mount Gambier and Frankston I think went through from the East Conference and headed off to Bendigo, and we played Forestville in the first quarter final I think it was and beat them. Then we met Mount Gambier in the semi-final and then came up against Kilsyth again in the in the national final.
What can you remember much? I mean, I was able to watch the game last night. We'll flick you through a copy to have a bit of a look at. But it seemed like it was a very close game throughout, Mark. And it was a little bit up and down, a few turnovers here and there, but some big shots down the stretch from what I watched.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those. It was a really funny game. You know, we had our star players. You know, Jason Pepper and Dave Buer, from memory, both fouled out, and it was but our younger blokes, Corey Davey, Andrew Beattie, Paul Crombie, Ben Harvey, really stepped up and brought us home. And I think from memory we had a free throw from Ben Harvey which gave us a 4-point lead, and then they came down and Luke Kendall knocked down a three, which but it was a bit too late, and we won by a point.
And of course, the ecstatic scenes afterwards, everyone celebrating, and you had supporters come from Hobart to Bendigo to watch the game, and everyone was quite happy afterwards.
Yeah, it was sensational. We had a good group. You know, like it was that weekend was also the presentation. They have presentations on the Saturday night, so a big function which we couldn't enjoy obviously, but. No, we had a lot of fans come up for us because it was a lot of people have put a lot of work into getting us to that stage, to that final. A lot of volunteers, and they managed to come up. So we probably had about 30 or 40 people in the crowd, all on our side, which was good. And obviously we all shared in the glory at the end of it.
And of course, throughout that year, you were still playing out at Kingborough?
Yeah, down at Kingborough. We finished the year from memory, I think 21-7, I think it was that year, or roughly round about that. So we had a good year. We were blessed with a very good team at that time, with some quality players, some very good young kids, our own locals who were, and they sort of came through. We had the Crombies and the Beaties and the Corey Davies who not so much Paul Crombie, but Corey Davey and Andrew Beattie were youngsters in those days, and they were developing, and as the years went by they became an established SEABL players and NBL 1 players.
And of course, playing Kilsyth throughout the season, Mark, they had a very talented team with some very good players. That a couple of them went on to NBL.
Yeah, certainly. They had Damon Lowry playing for them, Luke Kendall, Stuart Gemmell, who was a sort of SEABL legend for Kilsyth, Burns, who was their import, and a couple of Gerard Leonard was coming through at that time, and Mick Wheeler, who was another guard legend in the SEABL. I think he might have played a few games in NBL at some stage as well. So they were a very, very good team. They'd been there, I think they'd been there 2 years earlier and lost by a couple of points, and then they come up against us a couple of years later and we get over them by a point. And we only got over them by 3 points in the conference final as well.
What was I'd say, what was the crowd figures like down here? Obviously, would have been I suppose a strong supporter base in some ways.
Yeah, we were down at Kingborough in those days, as we all know. But we had good support. You know, especially at finals, you're always going to get good support. So the place was pretty packed out for the conference final and semi-final. So it was well good there. And as I said before, we were lucky that we got good group of people come up to Bendigo with us and support us through the final series.
Obviously, back in 2000, Mark, as you say, you had a 21-7 record. Who are the main players in your squad that really kept the team alive throughout games during the season?
Well, we're very blessed, obviously, as I said before, with our players. We had Dave Buer playing with us, who's as everybody knows, is an absolute legend of SEABL, and then finally in his later years got a chance at the NBL. We had Jason Pepper, who was another American player who came down from up the coast, spent a lot of time with Smithton, and also Dave and Jason, and also Ben Harvey played in the 1996 or 97 NWBU when Devonport won the national final as well. So, and we also had Ben come back. He came back a year or so before this and played with us, and probably the biggest help to us was Brad Williams, who came down, who was a development player for Sydney at the time, came down, and he's had 2 or 3 or 4 years with us as well in Hobart. And those players, they sort of carried us through. We had we've always blessed with having Paul Crombie right from Devils days come through with us as well, and then they were complemented by what were in those days were our youngsters with Corey Davey and Andrew Beattie. Robert Inches played his first year with us in 2000, and we had Jorik Chivers as well came through. Brad Vanderkamp was there, and these guys went on, as they matured and got better, to eventually be the backbone of the team.
You mentioned Brad Williams there, and he was a development player with Sydney at the time. Obviously, Billy Tomlinson was with the Kings at that time, and a good friend of yours and colleague. Did you reach out to him, or did Billy T ring you to recommend him?
Definitely. I was very blessed that I was able to go to Sydney 2 or 3 times a year for a little bit of a personal development with Brian. Gorgon was there, obviously, and Bill was there as his assistant, and they were very inclusive and very, very generous with their time to me. And through that relationship, we got to know of Brad and his ability, and certainly recommended highly by Bill to come down, and he certainly proved to be a great bonus and a great asset for the Chargers.
Mark, great obviously to go down memory lane once again and have a look back at the 2000 season, but also to winning the ABA Championship. I know the pennant is hanging somewhere around the DEC. I'm not sure where the trophy is, but I know that's somewhere safe and secure. But thanks for your time, mate.
No worries. Thanks very much, Ron.